Hi, I'm Jamie Flinchball, and today I want to share with you a bit of my own business evolution, the evolution of JFlinch. And I'm doing this for two purposes. One, just to sort of document and share the thinking for those that do engage, but also to sort of share the strategic thinking thought process, as I know many people struggle with that, and perhaps just a brief glimpse into how I think about things can be useful, informative to those going through similar strategic evolutions. So first, I want to cover a little history, some of the heuristics I'm using for making decisions, and then ultimately, where I'm landing. So beginning of 2020, pre-pandemic, I really started doing some advisory work, really just to buy myself time. In fact, I put a cap on no more than 8 days per month of that work so that I had time to go explore other options. So that was the goal. I didn't want to decide what I was going to do with my time too quickly. Um, well, then, of course, the pandemic hit, and some of the things I was exploring, those were suspended or delayed. Exploration became inherently more difficult, and a lot of my clients needed help, needed more help during that time. And so I really just leaned on, and how can I be helpful, right? Whether it's for a fee or for free. I was just trying to be helpful to as many people as I could. Um, so as we get forward to, up until through 23, that work continued to evolve. And it was really just a combination of a set of experiments, what worked, what didn't, but also, listening to my clients' needs. What problems were they having? What worked well for them? What challenges did they need help with that they weren't getting elsewhere? And so that evolution was really just a constant ebb and flow of what's useful, what's helpful, what's valuable for my clients. So as I wrapped up 23 and heading into 2024, I really tried to take all of that learning, really from the last several years, and my goal was relentless focus and simplification. I really wanted to get focused in what I was doing, not have a bunch of different pieces that didn't fit together, and really simplify. And when you see where I land, I really ended up with two things, and that's it. Um, so, and relentless was important because it's easy, especially when you're a decision maker, to give yourself lots of exemptions, lots of exceptions to whatever rules you had. And so the word relentless was important to really force myself to push on those exemptions and exceptions and push them into the strategy that I'm really trying to shape. So now when I come to the heuristics are really how, the rules of thumb that I'm using to write, to build that strategy, to make those decisions. Um, I had a podcast with Jeff Grimshaw called Happy Heuristics. We just did sort of one season of that, but you can go back and listen and it helps you understand the importance of those heuristics, and how heuristics help you make decisions before you have to make them. So some of those heuristics were in place already in how I made decisions. Others were an active part of thinking through it strategically. So one, and perhaps most important, is that I wanted to work on hard problems. In the past, for example, when I was a consultant and I ran classes and did events, there was a lot of repetition. There was a lot of, here's a product, here's a class, here's an offering, and I'll repeat that over and over again. And that's very efficient, it's very scalable, and it's a great way to share your knowledge, your intellectual property, if you want to call it that. I but it's not equal give and take. And so I really want to keep learning, as the quote goes. It keeps you young, as you keep learning. And so hard problems mean that I get as much out of it as the person I'm working with. So I don't want to step and repeat. I don't want to just regurgitate past acquired knowledge. I really want to engage, roll up my sleeves on hard problems, and that's what keeps the work interesting for me. So that's perhaps number one. Second, I started thinking about, what am I not just good at? Because there's plenty of things I've developed some skills and competence around. I've had a wide and varied career path, but not just what am I good at, but what am I unique at? And it may not be that my offering is a one of a kind, but in the way that I do it, it is. What can I bring to the table in a way that's unique to me? And so I really didn't. I really worked hard on kind of trying to trim that down to what is unique about what I bring to the table and how I engage with people from a process standpoint, from a capability standpoint. Next is really looking at what feeds me and what drains me. What builds energy, what builds momentum, what builds interest, what makes me I can't wait for Monday, and what drains me. What am I not looking forward to on my calendar, and really looking at getting that ratio as optimal as possible. And I feel pretty good about that at this point. Next was I really want simple and standard. It's fair to everyone. It's more consistent. It's easier to deliver and allows my brain to focus on the things that I really want to focus on. So having that simple and standard really frees up my brain capacity to focus on the things that are really needing my attention. Um, Next was one that's really been in place since very end of 2019 is dramatically less travel. I used to travel 48 to 50 weeks a year. I really do very little travel for business. Really, it's for a board and for one client, um, but dramatically less travel. I don't mind travel itself, but at this point, it's for my purposes. And so, really not hopping on planes on Sundays is probably one of the biggest differences in my life as I go forward. Next, and this is maybe more of a sub heuristic, but more about how I design the offering rather than what the offering is, but really wanted a consistent calendar, not just so that it was stable for everybody's ease of engagement, but more importantly, to create room for clear and deep thinking. Whether that's on my own work or, more important is my clients. Many of them are running at a fast pace. They don't have time for deep thinking. And so if I can provide, just by having space in my calendar, if I can do deeper thinking about the challenges my clients are facing and bring them some new ideas and new thinking, that's really valuable. And so I really want to preserve that time. And that's a high priority in the structure of how I offer what I'm doing. And then last is really about who I work with. And that's I really want both accountable and engaged collaborators. Um, Accountable is they're accountable to the work, they're accountable to me, they're accountable to themselves. I'm not here to drag them through, wanting to do stuff. That they have to want to do that stuff. And then engaged is I'm not providing them the incentive. They want to roll up their sleeves and collaborate. So when you have a good set of heuristics, you can really stress test any idea you have. You look at what you're doing now and you go, well, I'm not getting good scores against some of these heuristics. I'm looking at these 5 ideas and they don't. Some of them work, some of them don't. And so if you really use them as criteria, as rules of thumb for helping shape the decision, um, not only do you make better decisions, but you get more creative about coming up with new ideas. You might see an idea that looks good, but doesn't meet all the criteria or meet all the heuristics. So you then ask, what needs to change in order to do so? And that's where the creativity starts to pop, starts to develop. So, where did I land? In the end, I'll really be offering only 2 things. One is active, I mean I'm engaged, and the other is passive, meaning I'm not. So the active engagement or offering is what we call act with purpose. And there'll be a later video explaining this in more detail. But act with purpose, ACT stands for advising, coaching, and thought partner. And it's really a blend and integration of those 3 things. Advising is bringing advice and ideas. Coaching is more about the individual. Thought partner is that collaborative roll up our sleeves and work together on a challenge. And so a later video will explain what that is, and that's what will be on the bulk of my filling up my calendar. The second is the JFlinch Learning Lab. This is largely videos that I produce for my Act with Purpose clients. And for really the past couple of years, I wanted to develop each video series into a full-blown course with worksheets and exercises. But that really didn't meet the heuristics in the end. And so I've decided to simplify. And so the JFlinch Learning Lab will really be just a one price subscription to the video library. White papers as well, and lots of content in there. But as I develop these video courses on everything from culture change to process design, then you get sort of one-stop shopping to subscribe to all of those videos in one location. So that will be the second offering. I will have a couple what I'll call shadow products. One, or product line extensions, is probably the best description, that falls under each of those, Act with Purpose and the Learning Lab, but I won't even talk about them here because they're not really primary offerings. They're more product line extensions. And then, of course, I still have two podcasts and will continue with that. One is the more recently launched People Solve Problems, an extension of my book, People Solve Problems, which is 20-minute interviews where we talk with somebody about their thoughts around problem solving. Lots and lots of nuggets to learn in that. And the other is my collaboration with Mark Rabin, Lean Whiskey, which has been around since 2019 and a little less frequent, but sort of a product of enjoyment for both of us. So this is my story. It may be boring for many of you, but if you're interested in what JFlinch is, hopefully it offers a description and explanation behind it. But again, I also kind of document this for people going through their own strategic shaping process, whether it's a small business, a solopreneur, or quite frankly, a large business. We still need heuristics to help us with our strategic focus. And so I hope this offers some insights into how that can work and might work for you. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to engaging.